And then we are live on Facebook. All right. So hello and welcome everyone. I hope you are doing well. I hope you can hear me well. So when you do see us and hear us, type a 1 in the comment. I know you might not see it right away. We just got started. This is Sonia Line and I've got Brianna with me. We're here for the High Frequency Thursday. Brianna's gonna say what we're gonna talk about today as I go and share this in the group. So Brianna, can you take over please, and thank you.
Absolutely. Hello everybody, happy Thursday. Happy High Frequency Thursday. How is everybody doing today? I am going to get Facebook pulled up on my computer over here so I can hopefully see some of your comments while we are live, because I'm always wondering what you're saying and I'm on my phone so I can't see. But as Sonia said, we do have some new topics for you today. We are going to talk about grounding your energy and what it means to do that, how it helps your body, different ways that you can ground your energy. Also, other ways to reduce feelings of worry and anxiety by doing other natural things and simple things that you can learn to help yourself. And Sonia is going to talk to us about time management, and the way that she has learned to manage her time is in time blocks. And it is very interesting. And 15 minutes can be very underestimated. You can get a lot done in 15 minutes, especially if you have some intention behind that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sonia. I'm going to get this pulled up on my computer so I can see some of your comments, and I'm going to let her get started talking about time management.
All right. So again, welcome everyone, and thank you so much, Brianna. I appreciate when we talk about all different things, especially we flow with what's going on. So we are very adaptable, and we like asking you, how are you feeling? I know the energy of the world. I'm just trying to light this up. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have this Yerba
Santa.
Santa. I was gonna say mate, but that's a super fruit we have in the sprays. I'm like, I don't think that's what it is. So we're gonna talk about grounding. I'm sitting here in nature today. I'm usually in my office space, and this is my nature office. I wanted to stay here because the energy has been intense, and I love being around the wind. I hear the wind chimes. I have the wind blowing. I hear the birds. And for me, I can go and walk barefoot, go near the river, do breathing exercises. These are things that I found that helps me calm down. Whether I see things like, sometimes we see reminders, and I don't know how many of you see reminders on your Facebook, like memories, for example. Well, I saw a memory this morning that a year ago, I was 21 days away from my family. I had to quarantine after a trip from Vegas. I was 7 days in Vegas. Then I had 14 days here. And it was like a weird moment because it was a sad memory. And I think a lot of people, that when you hop on social media, the first thing you see, it might be a memory. And if your last year was a little iffy, you might see some things, you might see some grieving, you might see some illness, you might get reminders. And you need to ground yourself as much for social media as you need for the news, as you need for people you can't handle or stand, as you need for situations that are out of your control, or whether it's like entities or bad energies towards you. So there's many reasons to ground. And this morning I was reminded of that. And the way that I reacted to that post, because I've been working on all of these things, I was like, okay, this is something that I went through. It's done now, and I'm grateful for this. So I pivoted. So I felt like just sharing that, because I know a lot of you are going through some memories, but also a lot of you are going through things right now. The impacts, I know we talk a lot about that. There's some moons, there's some retrogrades, there's some different things. We just followed the eclipse, and there was a new moon this week. Lots of journaling that I've done on my own, and had bursts of like tiredness, had to like really rest and then go. So it's been a roller coaster, and it's super important. So finding 15-minute blocks for me to make sure I do the things that are important, that will keep me okay if trauma happen. I lost my cat of 17 years this week. It was 3 days, the longest 3 days I've had to assist a pet or someone to go through that. And I had the strength. Of course, I had tears and I went through a lot, but because of the tools, and like this morning, I just saged and smudged the whole camp. I did some rituals that maybe before I wouldn't have thought of doing, that helped us let go. I communicated a lot easier with family. I told my Facebook and my business partners and friends, I am okay. I needed help. I'm going through this. Usually I wouldn't have even posted about it. I would have done that on my own. So, you taking care of yourself and grounding, you're helping others, and then sharing these tools. That's why we do these. Me and Brianna could go and talk on our own in private about what we do and our issues and our successes, but we come here and we share because we know we're not the only ones dealing with all of that. So with that being said, rest in peace, Chronic. I love you. She had 17 wonderful years, and I know because of maybe an Apache tear I was holding on, which is a crystal that helps for grief. Just doing some intentions, journaling, writing down a memoir, and doing all of these things, dealing with my emotions has helped me. So maybe you're suppressing some things like I used to, that will make you ill. And illness from stress and from suppressing things is not good. So I'm going to let you come back before we talk about 15-minute blocks, because I know you're grounding yourself many different ways too. So I'm sure I've mentioned some things you can relate to, Brianna.
Absolutely. And rest in peace, kitty cat. I did see your posts, and the difference between you being emotionally fit and, like you said, having the strength to deal with that, the post was a lot different than it may have been in the past. Right. It was just saying where you're at, what you need, and what the expectations were, and I thought that was awesome. That was very commendable. And like you said, you're letting the energy out. You are writing, you're going outside, you're, doing things to honor your emotions. And I think that is very important. You mentioned memories on Facebook, and I happen to actually share a memory this morning too. So it's interesting that you say that. I shared a post that was made on my wall 11 years ago today. Wow. The person who wrote the post is also in heaven, and I used that opportunity to show my gratitude, and I reframed it in a different way. And I think that that's really powerful. I expressed my gratitude, and just, it made me come to a realization that your time is never wasted when you spend it telling someone how important they are. She was writing me a message telling me how proud she is of me. She's known me since I was a kid, and making my mom proud. And it was just, it's those reminders, and you can do what you want with them. You could have gotten mad all over again about the experience that you had, but you've grown from that. You're a different person than you were last year, and I am definitely a different person than I was 11 years ago. So who knows what that would have brought back then. And it's all about the way that you look at things. And I think that's an underlying message here. Looking in the comments, I see Leslie out there. Hey, Leslie. And Paula sent us a heart. I appreciate you guys watching, and let us know how you're doing out there. Leslie said that she's feeling the empathy, the crazy energy too. And we wanted to talk about grounding. That was one of the things that's really important, to get your energy, keep it in check. And so the actual scientific explanation behind grounding is very fascinating. And they've come up with a lot of tools that you can use if you are inside and you can't take your shoes off, or, different things like that. So the actual definition of grounding is, or the reason that it works, is because the ground, the earth, has a negative electrical charge. And so it can neutralize positively charged energy. So we get positively charged all throughout the day by using our phone, by creating different emotions and chemical reactions in our body, by being around computers and TVs and experiencing stress and different things like that. So when you put your feet on the ground, you are getting rid of that static electricity and that charged up electricity that doesn't belong in your body necessarily. So it's sending that static electricity, positive energy back into the ground to neutralize it out. And you're getting ions and electrons from the earth when you put your feet down. So the earth has floating electrons. Like we talk about, everything is energy. Every exchange that you have creates some type of energy. Every act that you do creates some kind of energy. And so having these ions and these electrons available to us freely floating, we can absorb them. And when we do that, it boosts antioxidants in our body. So it's helping our immune system. So when your electrical charge is completely off whack, it can make chemical reactions happen that are not supposed to happen in your body. And it can also slow down the ones that are supposed to be happening. So it's like neutralizing your energy, and you can get great energy from the earth, and it helps your body in all sorts of ways. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. But I'm one of those people that it's like, okay, yeah, I know putting my feet on the ground is going to help me, but how? What does that mean?
All right.
And so I thought that was really fascinating. Maybe some of you guys think that's pretty cool too, to actually know how that works. Right. So the example is, if you've ever touched something and been shocked, like maybe a metal pole or something like that, and you get a shock. Well, that's that static electricity, but the pole is being a conductor of the energy. So your energy is traveling down that pole into the ground, and that's where the shock's coming from. So if you want to have your energy go into the ground directly, you would put your feet on there. Otherwise, you need some kind of conductor, which crystals work as conductors. Water works as conductor, dirt, all kinds of things to get that energy from the earth. The actual benefits are, it can reduce your pain, inflammation, stress. It improves your blood flow,
right,
which gives you more energy, helps you sleep, and it regulates your cortisol, which creates stress. That's the stress creating hormone in your body. So when you're grounding and getting those antioxidants from the ground, it is helping your body more than you could ever imagine. So if you can get 15, 30 minutes would be amazing. Think about, going right back to the 15, 30-minute
right.
block thing, it's going right back around. They suggest 30 minutes, but if you could get 15, that would be awesome too. And after I wrote down all of this stuff and did some research this morning, I went straight outside and put my feet on the ground.
Love it. I mean, if you set yourself intentionally that way, and if you have no nature around you, I mean, just going outside and breathing, and you can visualize it in your mind too. But for me, I have flowers to attend to. I have, so I go at the greenhouse. I sometimes just go let the duck outside. We have a duck that's separated. So I try to put different things in my everyday life that I have to. And I'm like, oh, I'm outside. So it's not like, oh, I'm going, and maybe you will post, okay, I'm going to do this for me, but I'm trying to multitask because we are super busy. And I know that if I only do the things that I need to do and not that are good to keep you unstressed and to keep you vibing that way, then it's easy to not do them. So that's why you'll see me doing two things at once. And some people can't function that way. So when you go and try to get your grounding schedule or method going, it's going to be different for every one of it. Some people it's music, some people it's like just touching water that's running. Like we've talked about multiple different things. And for me, I know it's just magical to know that this is free. Like most of the stuff we're talking about, like, and you can, during a 15-minute block, you can hug how many trees and you can walk
Right.
how many steps and you can sit and like just how many like feelings of wind, how many birds can you hear? Like there's just so many things you can decide to focus on. And even though your brain might try to keep you away and distract you, your body's still getting it. Like even the vitamin D. I made a post this week. I now go outside without my sunglasses, and I love wearing sunglasses for accessories. I have a lot of them, and it's something that I used to even wear sunglasses like inside and at night. Like that used to be me. And now when I'm outside, I know to give my eyes at least a 15-minute without it, and then you don't have the raccoon tan coming with it too. So, but these are all little things. But for me, I found that when I was trying to schedule my days, if I was doing like, okay, I want to do at least, I knew what I needed to do, but I couldn't schedule it. And I felt like I needed a Monday to Friday schedule. But as an entrepreneur, I used to be a massage therapist before. I worked for myself from home and we have a different schedule. And then now we homeschool. My husband is retired. We have a different schedule. We love traveling on Sundays and Mondays when like people are going back to work, when it's less busy and like we have the whole places to ourselves if we go visit. Like that's what homeschoolers love, you know? And I mean, we love meeting people and all of that, but I was able to put together a schedule. Let me just share my screen. I'm going to show you 3 screens or slides of the slideshow I created for me. I'm actually going to do a little video separate from this and go over it, but this is for the busy people who are trying to get more things done in a shorter amount of time. And these are super important for happiness, health and wealth, balancing family, marriage, business, and being a badass woman yourself. So the goddess or god that you are, you deserve that. And I always felt I was running away from having time and never really taking time. And the only time I would take for me was when I was ill because my body would force it. And now instead of getting a 4 to 7 day illness, it's going to be a 4 to 7 hour illness. Or like I'm going to go through a little cold in an hour, or my body, because I allow myself the rest that's needed, when before I used to push myself and then get sick longer, and my body's always in fight or flight response. So I see, Brianna, you lifted your hand up. So I'm going to show you a quick preview. This is on my app that I'm editing in it. So you're going to see all of this. But just an example, I've took my business and my self-care and created 8 blocks of 15 minutes. So that's 2 hours, okay? So 2 hours in the morning, and I can take those 8 blocks of 15 minutes and divide them throughout the day, but I like to get them done in the morning. So in the morning, I do my I am affirmations, my gratitude. So when I wake up at the camp, I actually have a vision board right beside my bed. So I wake up and I see that. I read at least 3 things on it. So that's my way of starting it. Then I stretch, I do my breathing, I drink my water, I give someone a hug, whether it's my dog, whether it's my kids or my husband or myself, okay? I grab my crystals and my jewelry. I choose the clothes and the color that I want to wear. I have an app that tells me great colors for certain days and the moons. I do that. Okay, today was milky and creamy, so I'm wearing some like yellowish and cream thing, and then gold. Okay, then I choose a hat because I love wearing hats. Sometimes I just don't have time to do my hair, other times it's to ground myself and protect me, and other times it's just a style. And then I take my sprays, which are my vitamins. I take my CBD, my body melt, which is my detox, my proteins, my greens. And then I take my mantra. My mantra is my perfume that has no chemicals in it. And then any product that I would take in the morning that needs to be taken would be within that first 15 minutes. Then I go in my block 2, and I might do that one twice because that's my coffee time. So I have a machine that I use for like health treatments and that and preventative. I'm going to run that. And because I run a social media business, I need to watch stories just to help and then see other people. So I'm going to run that while I have self-development running in the back on an audiobook. So that's within the first 30 minutes. Do you see all of what I've already done? Now, I'm not going to show you all of these, okay, very quickly, but there's 8 blocks for my business. So that's 2 hours in the morning. Then what I created after, I looked at my family, and you should do that. You should see how much time you really need, especially if you work from home or if you have a business or a job. You still need to schedule the things in your life that's important. And my family, I gave them 3 hours per day that I'm divided between the family and the dog for 15 minutes. 15 minutes in my greenhouse for my plants, for my water, whatever I need to go and tell them they're beautiful and take some dead plants off of it, right? Then 15 minutes for the dog, water, potty, just spend some time. Then I got my morning shake, cereal or eggs. So my breakfast, do your breakfast. Then I give 15 minutes to my toddler. I take 15 minutes to declutter, 15 minutes to do laundry, floors, or a room. Have you ever decluttered really for 15 minutes and see what you can do? Then I give my 12-year-old 15 minutes, my husband 15 minutes. We can talk about the future. We can hug each other. We can watch a movie. We can go and do some projects, but I have one-on-one time with him. The ducks, I haven't been doing that much there, but I have a crazy rooster. But I want to go and walk around my pond and go see and hang out with the ducks. I want to give myself 15 minutes, whether it's a bath, whether it's, and I do meditation, so that doesn't count my little self-care meditation. So something for me, I want to learn a new trick. I want to learn how to do this with my puppy. I want to learn how to make bread. We're talking about making dandelion jelly. I want to add that as a homeschool project for my son. So, and then 15-minute for a friend. Me and Leslie, me and Brianna, me and Shannon, Dawn. I got my other girls I get to hang out with, and I don't always see people face to face because I live far, and I have people close to here I would love to come and have coffee with, and you guys need to come for a drive. But for those who can't, we meet on social media. So I make sure to give at least 15 minutes to a friend. Meal planning. Okay, so how many of you have issues when it comes to meal planning around your family during summertime? And then you're like, fuck it, we're going to get some takeout. And then you eat crap, and then you're like, I feel like crap, they want more crap. Just being real. So if you don't meal plan, then you're going to eat like crap. So we now prepare ahead. We still have some restaurants sometimes, but at least it's going to be less, and it's not going to be last minute. We'll be excited about it. Our body will feel good, even though we're having different food. And the last one is 15 minutes of music and grounding. Those are 3 hours. Sounds a lot, but 3 hours out of a 24-hour. And who would not love to spend time with their plants, their pets, their husbands, their family, their friends, preparing meals, right? Music. I know decluttering and like doing cleaning and that might not be that fun, but 30 minutes in a day, do that every day. And I'm going to say, this schedule, I do it 4 to 5 days a week. And I used to call it 4 out of 7, because there's some days, guys, that I'm just not going to do it. And I don't let myself feel guilty. And then the last thing I'm going to show you quickly is I have an AM routine and a PM routine. I'm still working on this. But all of you, and then I got my business stuff, which is my meetings, my Zooms, 3-way calls, and that. So I incorporated my business of happy, healthy, wealthy within, and for me, this is between 35 hours and 40 hours. And that's not a job. That's like including my business, my self-care, my life. And like on top of that, we do lots of fun stuff, and we go on the river and we grow food and like all of the road trips and like different things. And I'm incorporating that it's possible to do as we travel too, because summertime's here. So having these 15 minutes, and I try to do as much as I can in the morning, so then I can have my afternoons on the river or just to relax. And I plan my days like that. My summer schedules are way different than the winter, and I feel a lot confident. I feel excited right now because of that. I like, yay. And this might be a lot for some of you, might be like, she's crazy. Like, this is OCD. This is like way too much. But for me, it's what I've been working on for years, because I work for myself, and I've always felt I was missing that. I never liked the 8 to 5, but I was missing the organization, or just all or nothing is how I was. And I didn't want to run like that anymore. So now I intentionally set this up, and it just feels a lot better. So that was a lot to absorb and go.
Oh, that was awesome though. I mean, it's inspirational to me because I'm right there with you. I feel like a couple steps behind where that's what I'm looking for too. In 15 minutes, I don't know about everyone else out there, but 15 minutes seems manageable. And then, you know, you see that whole list and you're like, that's only 3 hours. And then most shifts are 8 hours long. Mm-hmm. You still have 5 hours left, you know, and I'm the same way where I have the most energy in the morning. So I'm going to want to power through some things. And I do have 2 kids and I have 5 freaking pets. I don't, you know, like, just like you, we got all sorts of things going on around here. And if you don't have a grasp on it, holy shit, like we are switching from our school schedule to summer now where the kids are here and I own and operate 2 businesses. Josh has a full-time job that he works out of the house, and we have to get things done. We have to be able to meal plan. And no, a lot of that stuff doesn't sound fun, but it's rewarding. And that's where you get the chemicals in your brain and your body that make you feel good, is by doing things that are rewarding, things that make you, that set you up for success, things that allow you that ability to take a deep breath because you don't feel like you have an elephant on your chest because you have this whole list of things in your mind that you've never even put down on paper. I don't know if anybody's out there that is like that, because it's like, even if I start a list, I'm going to have like a 5-page list. So I'd rather do, you know, unless they're very specific tasks, I would rather block it out like that too, where I'm not going to write down, clean every room. I'm going to 15 minutes declutter. I'm going to 15 minutes clean a room. And I laughed because you said, what can you get done in that amount of time? People joke about, you know, you get the most cleaning done in your house when someone says they're going to come over and you got 15 minutes till they're there. And you can clean a lot in 15 minutes.
And ideas will pop up. Like when you're in that flow, it will just become easier, you know? And if you can brainwash yourself to feel good about it, because at first it might not, and I didn't think that clutter bothered me until my husband pointed it out. He's like, you've always been around clutter, so how do you know what it feels like to walk in a room that isn't cluttered? And when he said that, I felt, oh my God. And it's true. When I walk in an Airbnb, for example, it's just minimal and it's so pretty. And of course that there's no kids and, you know, but it's like, if you can have one room in your house like that, and it's like the whole life too, like not just like your brain needs to be like that too. So I just really like that sometimes he brings me back to reality. And communication goes a long way, because before he wasn't so nice about how I used to be hoarder or clutter deep. Like I used to have a lot of stuff and just too much. And now we moved in a camp, and yeah, we've got lots of stuff that doesn't belong here, but is just temporary. So, and you just have to learn and accept. So if you have things that are chaotic, or you have rooms in your house that you can't get done in 15 minutes, focus on what you can. And then later go in there, and I say post it. I have a post-it and I write down, okay, so what we could do. And sometimes that 15-minute is a brainstorm. What can I do in this bathroom? I want this bathroom to feel great. Your floors are done. There's a new mirror. There's that. I want to have the towels there, this shower, the tub, blah, blah, blah. And I want to wash whatever you need to do. And then put it on paper and say, all right, I'll do it later, and leave it there. The intentions are there. And when you walk in your bathroom, don't feel like, oh, this is not done. And just always picture it done. That's how I've manifested a lot of things in my life. So hopefully you're taking notes, and this can help those who are watching and not always seeing the negative side of it. You know, when you walk in, like try to flip it around and see what you want. Not like kids wise too. We're talking about raising teenagers, pre-teenage here. I say, don't say what you don't like into what's going on. Just say how you see your future teenager in a very respectable, positive way, and put that in the universe and in his mind. So do the same for anything that you're trying to work or make better in your life.
Yeah, it's reverse psychology.
Right.
So that way you're staying positive. And I learned that as a parent that you tell children what you want them to do instead of what you don't want them to do, instead of don't touch that. Please leave that alone. Please keep your hands off of that. You know what I mean? Like, instead of don't, and no. Sometimes they don't know what to do depending upon the age of the child. They need that direction. And kids respond very well to school settings because of the scheduling, because of the expectation. And if you can set the expectation for your kids, you know, you have to start with yourself. And I think 15-minute blocks are just absolutely genius. And I'm taking notes. I don't know about anybody else in the comments. But things do seem overwhelming. But if you can tackle it and know that 15 minutes, I'm going to be able to switch tasks. I don't have to stay here until it's done. I don't know how long it's going to take. If it's going to take 5 hours, that's pretty dreadful to accept. If maybe you will devote 30 minutes throughout the day, 15 at a time, or maybe 30 at a time. But breaking it down, the old saying, I don't know if you've ever heard this, Sonia, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So 15-minute blocks at a time. Right. And you're getting things done. You're moving. You're being able to balance your life because you are taking care of yourself, your home, your family, your kids, your career. And you don't feel like one area is getting the bulk of the attention and the productivity. And then you have no energy at the end of the day for your family. That's really defeating. And that's something that I've found challenging working from home and being a stay-at-home mom, and that you feel guilty and you shouldn't. That shame and that guilt just really put a damper on your life if you let it. We had talked about grounding and other ways to ground. I did make a list of other things too. If you can't put your feet on the ground, Sonia mentioned some of them already. Deep breathing, of course, always. It's something that can reset you out of like a panic. It can reset you out of sadness, anger. You hear it all the time for a reason. It's one of those simple things that needs to actually be broken down and understand that your body needs that. Fight or flight is not something that you want to be in, because your parasympathetic nervous system, that regulates your ability to rest, your ability to digest your food. So there's a lot of, things that are tied together, that if you're stressed out, a lot of the times you're overweight because your body isn't able to digest the food like it's supposed to. You're creating too much cortisol and not balancing those chemicals out in your body because you're stressed out. And so I even learned to plug your right nostril and breathe just through the left. That will immediately trigger your parasympathetic nervous system to help you calm down and get into more of like a resting state. Playing with animals and children is on the list. And all of these activities are tied directly to the chemicals that they create in your brain. Going right back to being, the science of it, you get oxytocin, which is the bonding, love, and trust chemical when you play with kids and animals. So you pet your cat. You saw my cat jump up on my lap, just being around your kids, laughing. You can boost your serotonin that helps you feel happy. A lot of these chemicals come from your gut. Like serotonin is your mood stabilizing, well-being, and happiness chemical, but the majority of it is produced in your gut. Yeah. And, we talk about that too, the prebiotics, probiotics, healthy gut bacteria, taking care of yourself. There's a reason you feel better when you eat well, because you are actually getting the chemicals that your body needs, that your brain needs to like have a fighting chance against this crazy ass world out there. yoga and stretching. You get
Yes.
endorphins from exercising.
Just
and that's
moving.
where you get
Yeah.
pain relief too. So sometimes it seems
Right.
counterintuitive to exercise when your body hurts. If you can manage a walk instead of a run, I'm a walker, not a runner. I always say
Me
you're not
too.
going to find me running unless someone's chasing after me or I'm chasing somebody.
Just my toddler. That's it. Yep. I'm like, yeah. I like my
I'll
walk.
go for a walk. I like to stretch, the casual, maybe swimming, things like that. Because when you get endorphins in your body, you can actually relax after, and it can fight inflammation and pain in your body. So that's obviously very important. Massage is on the list. Moving all those fluids around in your body.
I'm due for one.
Me too. Journaling, music,
right?
tapping. We've talked a little bit about tapping. So your parasympathetic nervous system has one nerve that basically controls the whole thing. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the vagus nerve? Not like Las Vegas, but VAGUS.
Yeah.
It controls everything going on in your nervous system. And so it's actually like a point you can access this is over here. I'm not sure if it's the left or the right, maybe both, but the tapping helps to actually activate that nerve, to get it to, if it's been sitting dormant and not doing anything for too long. And you can activate your body to help you out just by waking it up a little bit. The 3-3-3 rule. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that, or if you have heard maybe a version of it. If you are having like a panic attack, especially, and you just your body is freaking out, you want to find 3 things that you can touch. 3 things you can see, and 3 things that you can hear, because that is bringing you back into your reality. And if you can make those things, I've actually helped someone get through a panic attack. They were on a road trip by themselves and got a little freaked out driving out through the mountains and just unsure and so far from home. And they called their brother, and I happened to be there, and I was like, tell him to touch 3 things. Even if it's your steering wheel, your dash, and your seat. Name those things, touch those things, find different textures, hear the birds, and it helps you just get back into your body. I feel like when you are having anxiety attacks, you feel like you're not even in your body. You're all up in
you're in another place for sure, and you're not thinking normally either, right?
No, you want something to change. And so if you can do these things in your body to create chemicals for you to help you calm down, like, it is super important. And like we said, all of this stuff, you don't need anything other than yourself and the motivation to want to feel better. Laughing, creativity, practicing and mastering things. And smiling. If a lot of people have issues with dopamine. So that is, if you have ADHD or you have attention issues, it's because your body has a hard time getting dopamine. It's the reward system to the body. So a lot of the times people will get it through food, through caffeine, through shopping, through social interaction. But what your body really needs is for you to complete a task from start to finish. And then you create dopamine, and you can rewire your brain to then start creating it on its own. And then you have that when starting out in the day. But ADHD and, procrastination and laziness, if you want to call it that, you don't get things done. So you're not getting the dopamine. So you literally have to actually, fold that load of laundry from start to finish and put it away and get some dopamine.
It's a vicious circle. My laundry's piling up on the couch. It's all clean though. Then I've got another a basket full of folded one, just not put away. And then I've got one in the dryer. So it's funny you mentioned that, but
I'm all over the place with it too.
yeah, it's all or nothing for certain things. I mean, you can't be happy, healthy, wealthy, and like rock everything and like just, and you have to let that go, right? And I'm like at a point that I'll have someone to help later, but where I live, it's not possible. So for now, we just got to suck it up. And as long as we got clean clothes, we're good, you know? So you
And
choose your battles.
Going to be said though, like once you do get it done, you'll feel better, right?
Yes.
That's because you're producing that chemical in your brain that's allowing you to feel
And
that.
the timing you're doing it too. So the time you're procrastinating and I don't want to do it, then you I'm gonna do it like a 12-year-old that's being like forced to do it, rather than okay, so right now we're gonna just take 15 minutes and we're gonna crush laundry, and you'd be surprised how much you do it, and you do feel twice as good after once it's done. So again, those 15 minutes come into play, and yeah. So who else has some laundry waiting for them, right? Let's maybe all give 15 minutes of laundry today.
15 minutes. Yeah. And like I said, my brain tells me that if I only have to do it for 15 minutes, that it's okay.
Yes.
Because I'm not looking at the endless piles and thinking of all the overwhelming things. And like Leslie said, stop trying to be perfect. You know, if you can tackle things 15 minutes at a time, it's actually bite-sized tasks. It's things that you can actually swallow. You can't do it all at once.
Nope.
I was just checking the comments. One more thing I wanted to say that I learned about grounding is that they make grounding shoes. Have you ever heard of that?
Different energetic shoes. Not sure if they're the same, but I've heard of that, but maybe not especially for grounding.
Well, they also, another word for grounding, if you guys want to look up more information or look these up, there, another word for grounding is earthing. So they make earthing shoes and earthing mats. So what these are is if you can't get outside, like I said earlier, you need an electrical conductor. So when you wear shoes, your rubber sole creates an insulation like you would see on a wire, those color insulation on the wire. Your shoes making it so you're not transferring energy with the earth because that rubber sole is in the way. So earthing shoes have a conductor in it, typically like some kind of metal ball or something in the sole of the shoe. So even while you're wearing shoes, you can be grounding. And I am going to look into that. That's a very fascinating thing to me. And then the mats actually do use electricity. So it's the same concept with the negative electrons, positive electrons, and neutralizing that out and giving you some ions to boost your immune system. So you can put it underneath your laptop and get rid of some of that electrical magnetic fields that your computer, your TV, all of that stuff. When we talk about crystals, we talk about EMF, and a lot of the black crystals are good for getting rid of that smog. Fluoride is great because it will absorb it. And so that's what these mats are doing too. And they're keeping you grounded to the earth by using actual electricity, plugging it in. I've seen them where you lay it on your bed so you could ground the whole time that you sleep.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of interesting for sure.
Definitely. So I'm going to look into that. Maybe get one for underneath my feet while I'm at the computer. Does anyone else have grounding?
I'm looking here like because I was gonna put some essential oils on my face, and I thought, you know what, I'm sure essential oils help for grounding too, and chants and different things like that. So if you guys know, but I was just going to, I see a few cedar wood, white fir, juniper, spruce, pine, ylang ylang, and angelica, which is kind of funny. They're all like, most of them are trees. So that is very interesting for sure. I'm going to be doing my beauty roll on. And this is another thing for me, the smell of the rose. Is it rose or helichrysum? Or it's helichrysum in here. I really, there's something that the smell does. So it might not, I don't know if the earthing or the ground, well, I'm thinking it would be, right? Like it's that, that effect. It's like, and
Aromatherapy.
right.
Yes.
So I love it.
I wrote down, you reminded me about talking about trees and flowers, that you can ground with grass, dirt, sand,
Yeah.
plants, trees. So gardening is grounding. Actually hugging a tree, those hippies actually know what they're talking about.
Love
Um,
it.
Gravel and rock. So if you have like a gravel driveway, those rocks are touching the ground. You can still use that, anything that's touching the ground. And then water, bodies of water. I love to put my feet in the water.
I
It's
do too. Just
amazing.
that, like, I don't need to get in the water. Just putting my feet in there will do the whole difference. And I even walk in the snow in the winter too. Have you ever walked in mud? It's kind of cool. We did that. Well, years ago, my husband used to race. I wasn't even with him, but we used to go at 4x4 competitions, and they had those mud runs. And then the ladies would walk and run and like in the mud, and they would all fell. I never did that, but I already walked in mud, and I had my feet in mud in my massage therapy course. So, and that's very good. And we were just, saying like, oh, you're getting a mud bath and that, but the mud would also be very good for your body. And when we did the massage at the spa, when I learned, it's amazing the benefits that the real mud that they use at spas, and then the exfoliate. Another thing I had is exfoliate. I've been doing that this week. I'm working on my lymphatic system. And a lot of people, when they're deleting, detoxing things or going through things, some glands or lymph can swollen. So make sure that you are exfoliating, which you start in, circles, and you go towards your, at the bottom of the extremity, you go towards your heart. So I do that on my arms, on my feet, on my thighs, on the buttocks, and then in the back, and even on the stomach. So it's actually energized me when I've done it. And oh yeah, you mentioned that last week too, I believe. I think so. And I love my roll on. I use it almost every day.
It's the same for the lymphatic drainage, and you want to
Yes.
move away to allow it to actually
Yeah.
flow down. So you can't just go all willy-nilly and just up and down. I mean, you can, but
Be
it helps
intentional. Yeah.
get some of the fluid and helps with wrinkles because you are working that skin and getting all that fluid buildup out of your neck and your face.
Right.
And so that's awesome to do. I feel energized after that as well. And then when you have a crystal on there, that was rose quartz. You can get the benefits of the crystal of too, which goes right back to, you're transferring energy. So you're touching the ground with your feet, you're touching your hands on the plants, whatever, you're touching your hands on the crystal and you're transferring energy. So whatever energy is in the crystal, you are transferring it to your body. So that's how the crystals work. And Vicky said scents are grounding, which they absolutely are. That's why we burn the sage and we burn the yerba and the Palo Santo, because that is cleaning the negative energy, the negative ions out of the air.
Right.
And then we're smelling that, and that's helping our aura, our energetic field as well. So all sorts of ways. You don't have to have all sorts of crazy tools. Of course, you could Google and find them and buy a $500 something or another if you want to.
Right.
Like there's amazing things out there, but it's just getting back to the basics. It's all about nourishing yourself, your mind.
Going for a swim in the river, at the lake. We had a fire last night. My husband had found some herbs that have grown, and they were dried and they were like overdue. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? We ended up putting them in the fire. But as we did, that's when I did my thoughts for my cat and my ritual, and then I smelled them, and just the intentions, I did not feel like it was wasted. Other me would have been like, oh, I wasted all that herb. I didn't even recognize the herb it was because it was so long that it was in there, but I let it go. So if you're decluttering and cleaning, I've let go of jackets that still fit me, that was like, you got too many, let go, give it to someone else, right? So like, and you just got to say thank you and release it. This is the season where you let go of all that heavy baggage, because so many of you have been carrying it your whole life. So let it go. Be light. think that you're going on a vacation tomorrow. Do that little declutter, get your house all intact, get yourself that way, and just try to be happier, healthier, wealthier every single day. Vicky's asking if do you have some rollers for her?
Yeah. Yep, I do.
She does have. If anyone's looking to get a roller, Brianna has some that she sells in her crystal shop. So just comment below and she would be happy to send you the information. I know I love mine. Leslie spoiled me with one when she visited me, and I've always been using it. At first, I didn't really know how to use it. She told me, and then I saw her using it a few times. But even like after I use my beauty roll on, now I could go and do that, right? So
Because it'll roll easier. And it's Vicky, I know you use the beauty roller and things, and it can help shape your jawline and help shape under your cheekbones and things like that too. So
like, hit me up. She will.
I will.
Oh, I love it. She loves campfire. Can you imagine? We would all be sitting around a campfire and we would all think of what we've gone through and how proud we are that we're still standing today. And then we move our bodies. And you mentioned moving earlier. I do this a lot. So like, I'm like, I hope they don't think that I have a problem or something, but I move my body because I always flex my abs. Okay, bye. I've always flexed my abs, and then I've learned that in massage school because we sat on exercise balls during college. So you'd see me either bouncing like that or going back and forth with my hips, or then like this, or just doing the circle. So I sit a lot often, whether I'm doing this work or whatever I'm doing. So I tend to move like that. And this, it actually puts me, I feel it flowing in my body. So like maybe you just need to do some
Your
small little
emotional center is right there. So moving your hips, and I have looked into different releasing techniques to get an emotional release from all this energy that you store in your hips. So there's a reason why it feels good to move your hips, because you're letting it go and just feeling the flow, going with the flow. And if anything today, declutter something, move your body, drink some water, sing at the top of your lungs.
Leslie's commenting what I kind of mentioned to bring up, but I think it would be a whole other topic. She talked about the Kundalini energy, which is kind of like an awakening, and maybe that's what we should talk about next week.
Next time. I was reading about that just a couple days ago, and I mean, I know about it, but I was reading about techniques and things. So yeah, that would be definitely an interesting, because it has to do with awakening energy, releasing energy, letting it flow all the way through. And a lot of the times it stops right here.
Yeah. And you feel some things you might have never felt before. You become oversensitive, or like just you might feel different, and all of us go through it differently. And I'm sure I went through a lot of them in my life. I just didn't realize. And now I'm more in touch with my body. I'm a lot more sensitive, but I ground myself every single day. So now I've learned how to cope with that. And I know a lot of people right now are going through different awakenings, whether it's happy, healthy, wealthy, or different spiritual journeys or whatever it is. And if we can help make you maybe understand or do some research, because we don't have all the right answers, but we got the answers for us, and we're always looking for more. And as I wanted you to say, when I talked about the 15-minute schedules, I work on a lot of things right now, but years ago, I just worked on my head, on my happiness, and then I worked on my health. I wasn't working on all of this all together. It's not like I woke up and I've put all these habits. I've added 1 to 2 to a few habits on and on and on. And that's how now I know what's priority. I know what makes me feel good. So I still do some things. I still have my chocolate cake or whatever, but it's a lot less, rather than doing destructive habits and not having any control to stop, which can go with mental, it can go with eating, it can go with any thoughts, it can go with how you run your life, your business, your job, your friendships, anything. So I didn't like doing the all or nothing type of life anymore, because in 2022 it was way too stressful, not possible. So going with the flow with this 15-minute block, but learning to be open and doing the Happy, Healthy, Wealthy group with yous have been very amazing. And then learning how to incorporate crystals, incorporate self-care. The fact that our company teaches a lot about that and manifesting and homesteading, creating a life where you're going to grow your own food. I mean, look at all the recalls lately. And food also is a grounding, is like you can give the energy that's from there, and then it makes you think, I'd rather have something I grow myself than who knows where that China, Mexico, or whatever label those strawberries are coming from.
They spray, yeah, you don't know what they made,
right?
What they had to do to make them grow the way they did, because they're about producing things quickly. And that's what I was going to say was, if you can, it seems overwhelming to do happy, healthy, wealthy all at once. But if I could recommend something, it would be to start with your health, because the other things will fall right in line. We talk about your gut bacteria, and taking care of your stomach will create serotonin to help you be happy. So then it's like two things at once. It's getting the ball rolling. And then if you have more energy because you're giving yourself good nutrition, then you have more time to work on your career and make more money. And no, I don't have it all figured out either. I've learned a lot from Sonia. And like I said, I feel like I'm a couple steps behind her, and I'm catching up. I'm grabbing onto these ideas, and what works for you, take what resonates and leave the rest. That is one thing that I hear a lot. And that is a message I want to pass on. Take what resonates and just leave the rest if it's not for you.
There's not one only way for every family and for everyone. And that's the beauty of finding who you truly are. And I think me looking outside of the regular system and schooling system, and that is giving my kids the beauty of being able to choose an art, and their life is an art because they create from what they feel and not what they're told to learn and they have to do. And of course now they need that routine we're talking that they get in school, but they're able to explore. So I like that, because until I started exploring at different opportunities and at different alternatives and different ways of life and making myself feel good. Because when I was young, I thought drugs, alcohol, music, sex, and have fun, that was the cool thing. And that's how you made, like for me, that's how I was taught. And that's what I was living by. And I did things in my past that was very abusive to my body, my mind, my soul. And today I'm like, man, if I would have known about grounding and about crystals, I would have saved myself lots of drama and just craziness in my life. But I don't regret anything, but just want to say that how you live your life right now is going to impact you, your generations to come, the future, and this whole world as a one, because we are one. So we are vibrating and getting our frequencies higher. And hopefully that this episode today helped you, and you can share it with someone that might be going through this, that might need some help. Next week, we will talk about the when somebody starts these awakenings in a way, and maybe share experiences. So again, thank you for being our guest today. Brianna, any last closing words?
I just want to say, as you mentioned, talking about things we used to do in the past, and you have to understand, and I saw a quote the other day that said, the butterfly does not look back at the caterpillar in shame.
No.
The butterfly knew that it needed to be the caterpillar first to become the butterfly, and it appreciates what it went through to then be able to experience the freedom that you've experienced now.
I feel that. Well, that's a great closing word. Then we're going to stay at that. So again, thank you for tuning in with us, and always comment, let us know haha moments, what you're going to be adding maybe from this in your life, what tips you have to share, and we will see you again next week. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.